Hello and welcome to Probe. Is man a product of chance plus matter plus time? If man just evolved, what is the purpose and meaning of our life on Earth? What was the origin of the first cell? Can science explain why we are able to love or empathize with people? Let's find out as we listen to Dr. Latha Christie and Dr. Nirmala Abraham talk about intelligent life in the cosmos.
Evolutionists say that the origin and development of the universe and all life in it can be explained by time, matter, and chance and continuing natural processes. According to evolutionary theory, all living things have arisen from a single celled organism, which in turn had arisen from something non-living, such as an amino acid or a protein. But creationists say that everything in the universe has come into being through the design, purpose, and deliberate acts of a supernatural creator who created the universe, the earth, and all life on the earth. Let us talk about how life began on planet Earth. Dr. Christie, once again a warm welcome to you. We are so happy that you have sacrificed your precious time to be with us today. In the previous episodes, we've already established that there is a designer behind the whole universe. But how that designer created it is still a mystery. I mean, that exact process is not clear to us. It's an impossible thing that life can come out of non-life, because if it were possible, then even now it should be happening. Life should be coming out of non-life. Darwin's theory, you have explained it a lot in this book, Beyond the Boundaries of Science.
Yes.
Let's go to that. How could Darwin explain that all this beautiful array of life has come out of one single cell?
That is the most funniest of everything, because even Sir Frederick Hoyle once said that chance that higher life forms have emerged this way from non-life to such a complex things like brain is comparable to a tornado sweeping a junkyard and assembling a Boeing 747 from the materials therein.
That's a beautiful illustration, isn't it?
Yeah, so how improbable it is. Scientifically, it is not, it is so difficult to explain that. And someone said how Darwinism has swept the world and how people are still going ahead with that. It is really a mystery, great scientist was telling. You know, Charles Darwin, let us start with Charles Darwin, how he started. His father was a physician and he wanted to become a physician.
Okay.
It did not interest him much. So he went and became an Anglican priest.
Charles Darwin.
Yeah, he was an Anglican priest. He went to Cambridge and studied for priesthood. He was a naturalist. He loved all this working with the nature, and then he was studying this finches and all these fossils and barnacles and all these things. And then he came back after 5 long years to England in 1837 and started writing in his book. It is still now called transmutation books.
Okay.
So where one life form can change, is there a possibility? He was just trying to work out in his mind whether a life form can change to another. So that is the first starting of his theory. But he wrote his book on the origin of species after 22 years after writing this notebook.
Oh, I see.
So he was working out, because for him flowering plants was a mystery. He said that it is almost taking his night's sleep. It's not that possible, like without insects, how from non-flowering to flowering can come forward. So like that, even I was a mystery for him. People were not ready to take it, because his theory said that natural selection works by favoring the most favorable, most successful variants. That's where it works, natural selection. His process is mainly, so it favors.
That's a survival of the fittest.
Yes, it chooses only the favorable ones and weeds out the unnecessary ones. But then his theory could not explain how offsprings vary, like how your father's characters you are taking up, and those sort of things, some of the questions he could not answer. But Gregor Mendel, he was a priest and he was working on the theory of inheritance, genetics.
Okay.
So in 1940 they combined Gregor Mendel's theory of inheritance, that is on genetics, and then Darwin's theory of evolution, and they call it as Neo-Darwinism.
Okay.
So now it's called as Neo-Darwinism, where genetics and natural selection together, like it works on two main phenomena, like mutation and recombination.
Okay.
These are the two main things, and based on that they believe there is a probable, like intelligent way you can construct the family tree from a microorganism to that of a complex brain of a human being. But Paul Davies says, he's not a Christian, but he says that living organisms are mysterious not because of their complexity but because of their tightly specified complexity.
Okay.
So that is the way it is too complex. Have you heard of this term called irreducible complexity?
Yes.
What do you mean by irreducible complexity is, like for example, there are so many systems and all have to be put together. Even if one is removed, the others will not work.
Yes.
Take the case of the wing of a bird. So it has to be so complex, it has to give support to the bird when it
lifts up into the air.
And it is very complex. And even our eye, it has retina, it has lens, and it has fluids and everything. Take out one part and
it won't
they
work
go
properly.
blind. So that is the irreducible complex systems. Based on that, Michael Behe argues that they are proponents of intelligent design. Even Discovery Institute, Seattle, they have around 1,000 scientists who have returned and given. They are from Harvard, Princeton, they are from big universities, and they have given skepticism against Darwinism.
Okay.
So they have signed and given petitions. They are skeptic. So they argue that irreducibly complex system, it is not possible to evolve on its own.
Right.
Because for example, you take like earthworm and sea urchins have no eyes, you know, and
Right.
and then starfish and caterpillar have flat eyes, and insects have thousands of tiny columns. And we are made of one retina and one lens, and it is a different. How from an earthworm which doesn't have any eyes, and sea urchin which has a flat single eye, and then insects with multiple, and then human being
with such a complex kind of
it's
eye.
not that way so easy. And then even you take a brain of a human, it is 3 times bigger than chimpanzee. People normally say we came from chimpanzee, but it's not that easy. Our brain is so complex.
And another thing that puzzled Charles Darwin is that there was a sudden change in this evolutionary process, that is during the Cambrian explosion, which was an event that approximately 541 million years ago this thing happened, and suddenly major animal phyla appeared in the fossil record, and so this could not be explained properly, right?
This is the Paleozoic era. It's around 542 million years back. Suddenly when they were checking the fossils in the Precambrian era fossils, you can see that at one point that a lot of fossils they could find primitive fossils. It's not that
evolved ones.
Evolved the big ones. It's a primitive fossils. But it is fully at one point. It is not like gradualistic as
all of a sudden lot of new ones appeared.
Yes, at one point everything appeared at the same time.
Yes.
So that posed a great difficulty to Darwinism, whatever it is. So Neo-Darwinism. So then they were not able to answer for that, how gradualism could account for these things. But then Stephen Gould and Niles Eldridge, they proposed a theory called punctuated equilibrium.
Okay.
So that theory, punctuated equilibrium, it process that sudden burst of evolutionary changes can occur. So then, but some people favor punctuated equilibrium and some people favor gradualism of Darwinism.
But how do they explain this punctuated equilibrium? Could it be that suddenly there was a lot of oxygen available and something happened?
No. This is a different theory that it can cross, like it is not as per the gradualistic way of evolving. It is like sudden burst can happen at one point.
Genesis 1:25 reads like this: God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. You know, fossils provide a window for us to look into the distant past, revealing how life has changed across the various vast periods of Earth's history. Is this fossil record really complete? So tell us about the fossil record. If it's complete, why? And if it's not complete, why not?
Actually, fossilization, you mean, it is a very rare process. As we think, it is not that easy process. Because most of the animals or birds, when they die, it is eaten by something else.
That's
or
true.
it gets decomposed by bacteria. And if there is more oxygen, it favors bacteria to make it, to get it decomposed at a faster rate.
Okay.
So, if there should be fossilization, there should be a less oxygen atmosphere.
Oh, I see.
For example, a bird getting trapped between the wooden cuts of a tree, or a dinosaur,
Or in a rock.
or a dinosaur being carried away in a stream and getting fossilized under ocean beds.
Okay.
Okay, so something like that. It is not that easy process. So that's why it is so difficult, and that to carbon dating and thermoluminescence and the other dating techniques also, it's not that accurate. I have written in my book, I have compared around latest scientific journals, around 100 journals, like to compare their own theories. Like the theories not put forward by creationists. I have put forward theories by evolutionists.
Okay.
And I found there are a lot of contradictions among them.
Right.
So that's what which intrigued me.
You are saying that through the fossil record, it is not really easy to find out these things.
Yes, if you see among apes, the orangutan is the only ape with a good fossil record. You don't have fossil record for any other thing.
Now, G.K. Chesterton once said, man is not merely an evolution, but rather a revolution. So, can we really say our ancestors were apes, orangutan? Well, I beg to differ. My ancestors were not apes. Can you uncover the secret behind the dawn of the human race?
I remember a story, a little girl, when she went to her Sunday school. She came back and the teacher was teaching that we came from Adam and Eve.
Yes.
And she went to her school and they were teaching that you came from apes. So she was confused. So she went to her father and he also told maybe we would have come from apes. Then she went to her mom. She said, Daddy is telling I'm come from apes, and Sunday school teacher is telling that I have come from Adam and Eve. Mommy, who do you say? Your daddy is talking about his ancestor and I am talking about my
side of the family.
So it's that way. So what do you, so it's not that easy, like you need a lot of molecular data.
Yes.
Like genetics is the one which they found that DNA is made of double helix structure. So from that time genetics took over, and then they found that this molecular data comparison, like how you can compare DNA of a chimpanzee with that of a human being. Some of the scientists are telling that you came from chimpanzee, and some say you came from bonobos, one more primate, and some other people are telling might be gorilla or orangutan. So you don't know. Among them, I thought let them fight among themselves, come to a consensus, because there is no consensus among them.
Yes.
And from whom we came, even if we have come, apes to man is totally a different thing. Our brain is around 3 times bigger than that of chimpanzee, and they have done a test, like they have put a group of chimpanzees in a room, and in the other room little babies, not babies, some 3-4 years kids. So you know, social skill something is called. You work together. Have you seen 2 chimpanzee carrying a log of wood together and going and working? They cannot. So it's a physical skill is different. A chimpanzee can work with its hand, might be something. But if you ask 2 chimpanzees to work together,
they don't have that skill.
They don't have, because they tried. They have put 2 kids together and 2 chimpanzee together, they didn't study, and then they gave some fruits, and they asked the chimpanzee, first they divided the fruits, and then they ate both of them ate, and then they gave a lot of fruits and made them to divide. So the dominant one took everything. They tried again and again, and here these boys, they had been given toys, and they separated out and they tried to share.
Okay, sharing is not there among the chimpanzees.
And even working together, that's called social skills, conscience, and we are creative, we are intelligent. There is a huge gap.
That's why the Bible says that we are made in God's own image. A chimpanzee is not made in God's image. I have come from the hands of the Creator. A human baby comes fresh from the Creator's hands. It's beautiful, not from the chimpanzee. John 1:3 says, all things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. But could you explain to me, how could birds evolve from dinosaurs, as some of these people claim?
So birds evolved from dinosaurs because of an Archaeopteryx. They found a fossil called Archaeopteryx, and some people started calling them as a transitional form. For example, A is changing to B, and B is changing to C, and C is changing to D. Then B and C are called transitional forms.
Okay.
So people are trying to search for some transitional forms which lie between, for example, they say fish, amphibian came from fish, and reptiles came from amphibians, and birds came from dinosaurs, that is reptiles, and then animals came from birds, and then man came from animals. So there should be a lot of transitional forms. But because, as I said, fossilization is difficult, and again like molecular clock data, genetics data many times contradict fossil data. They try to get the age from fossils, and they try to get the age from molecular data. Both of them contradict. And also different genes give conflicting data. One researcher, he has given a data based on some type of genes, and the other researcher using the other things, he has given a conflicting results. So different genes talk differently. A paper has been given by me. And then even, for example, rodents, the most of them we find here, that doesn't have any fossil record. That as I said, orangutan is the only apes which has fossil record. So it's not that so easy to determine. And now this Pachyticus, that is between fish and this whale, and some of the whale evolution they're trying to search. And now this Archaeopteryx is the one they thought that it might be between dinosaur and birds. So but then now people are telling it's a full-fledged bird. Some people say bird dinosaurs theory, that birds came from dinosaurs.
But dinosaurs are so huge. How did it shrink?
They say at one point the dinosaurs started to fly, limbs became wings, the front two, they have back two and the front two. The front two, that small one became the limbs, and then they started to fly, and then the flying dinosaurs and all those things, they got some fossils, and they, as I said, fossil study is not that easy. People try to assemble, and somewhere I studied about Lucy. You might have heard about Lucy. It is a transitional form between chimpanzee and that is our ancestor they call apes. It can be that last human ancestor, and humans, they thought Lucy is that. So they try to connect one half of some fossil, somewhere they get the backside of some fossil.
But that's cheating, isn't it? You can't connect like that.
But actually they try to assemble, because that's where paleontologists, they try to see how you will get, when you have, as I said, now you have a world view, you will get a transitional form if you have a thought.
Because what they are trying to do is, they must be taking the fossil of a chimpanzee and trying to fix it with the fossil of an early human being. We don't know.
That's what it's so difficult. That's what there are a lot of controversies among people. Some say that one of the transitional form they had, it is a pig. bone, because they get sometimes only the nail, sometimes only the teeth.
Yes.
So because it's fossils, everything goes away, soft tissues and some of the hard tissues remain. So when you try to connect the fossils, you get into confusion.
Yes.
Neanderthals could be some sort of apes, or could be some sort of primitive humans. How you know it is in between that? And they say that, and when you try to go inside Neanderthals, you will understand that Neanderthals vanished suddenly. Nobody knows how he came, how he went.
Why he went?
Because there are 5 theories almost like to put forward how they vanished.
Okay.
Somebody said that their own humans ate them away. Among their killings, one by one they killed.
Okay.
And then some people say there was a great volcano, and that volcanic eruption killed all of them. Some say their DNA is now merged within Americans or Africans.
Okay.
They found a fossil which is having a feathers. It's called a feather dinosaur. Then based on that they thought, but if you see, a bird is a warm-blooded animal.
Yes.
Like we are warm-blooded because our body temperature is constant. It doesn't change with the temperature.
Right.
But even birds have a temperature much higher than us. Their body temperature is higher. But dinosaur is a cold-blooded animal.
Okay.
It's a reptile, right? Its body temperature changes with the environment, like chameleon you see and others. And one more thing is birds. It has only one way respiration. Their air sac is only one way. But dinosaurs is like breathe in and breathe out at 2 ways. The lungs has.
Okay.
So it is too complex for someone to explain how dinosaur became birds. So it is not that easy. And I read somewhere even this, someone said how fish became a mammal, and then that mammal one day when it was roaming near the sea, it just felt like going back to that sea because it came back from the sea, and then it went inside and became a whale. So there were
simplistic explanations. See, science has come up with all these complicated theories, complexities and so on. But my question to you is, can science explain how we human beings have the power to love and to forgive and to empathize with people? Can you give me, as a scientist, a mathematical formula for the reason why I exist?
We are not machines. So I cannot provide a mathematical formula for why I love beauty, why I love people, and why I am creative, why I reason it out. All these things, if you ask me mathematical formula, I will not be able to give. Wright has written a book, We Are Moral Monsters. So he says that our morality evolved because he calls it as kin selection. We are good to our own people. He is not able to explain how we are good to other than our family members. See, might be we are able to get mutual benefited because the natural selection only favors the best ones.
But then human beings see a beggar on the road suffering, and we have empathy and we have feelings for that person. We want to help that person. We give something. So how do you explain that? We get nothing in return.
Yes, this compassion. He calls how compassion evolves. Compassion, he says, that evolves when it is your own relative. You help them and they help you. And so it goes. But for him, it's a bad news that his theory, that kin selection, cannot explain why you help a beggar, why you love another person. So it is not that easy. Why I am a human. So the question, everything boils down to, what do you mean by being a human? Being a human is something we are made in his image,
in God's image,
and we are made with a purpose and in mind. The reason that we are made has a purpose. And as they say that blind processes does not have a purpose. It does not have a vision, it does not have a sight. But the blind processes, what Darwin say, how it will end up with a purposeful life. A purposeless process cannot end with a purposeful life. And that's why a man was telling, who is a skeptic, once I studied about his book, he was telling that if my mind is nothing more than activity of a brain, and my brain is nothing more than the activity of a computational process. Okay, if I feel that, I have an illusion, I have two curses. He says that he's a skeptic and he is confused whether he's just an illusion that he's more than a moral animal, and that illusion whether he is more than a moral animal is wrong. But he wants to have that illusion that is more than an animal.
Okay.
So, because he doesn't want to accept his brain is nothing more than a computer. Because it's so difficult to accept. But if you don't believe in God and if you believe in naturalism, they say that your mind is nothing more than your brain, and your brain is nothing more than a computational process, and you are nothing more than a machine.
That's what Stephen Hawking says, that my brain is like the CPU of a computer. And so I would like to ask, if that's the case, when a person dies, why do they cry? You just throw out the computer and be done with it. Why do you have that love and affection? Well, our time is up. So even though it's so interesting, I have to say goodbye to you for now, but we really look forward to seeing you again next week, and we would like to know some more about these things. Thank you so much, Dr. Christie.
Thank you.
Friends, the layers below the Cambrian layer have practically no fossilized specimens. The few creatures that are found in pre-Cambrian strata are all soft-bodied like worms. So, essentially, you have nothing along the lines of organic complexity and diversity before the Cambrian era, and then suddenly everything came. Doesn't this point to a creator who created everything? Well, all I can say is that the heavens declare the glory of God. Be blessed.
I'm sure all your doubts are cleared and your questions answered now. Our ancestors were not apes for sure. The amazing work of the DNA shows that there is a brilliant mind behind our DNA who encoded everything so clearly. Write to us if you have something to say at writetoprobe@gmail.com. Till we meet again next week, this is Meghna signing off from Probe.
That which was formless took form. That which was shapeless took shape. That which was empty got filled. That's what everything came out of nothing. In the beginning God created heaven and earth, space, time and matter. Everything started from the everlasting God.
What is the age of the earth?
There is no birth certificate for the earth, so we cannot pinpoint and say this is when the earth was born.
Those stars that once upon a time exploded like fireworks. So the whole universe, you see, it was lit.
I wonder, did God really set up the water cycle and everything on the second day? We don't know what happened. Maybe some kind of tectonic activity or something like that, separating the plates.
The Bible was never meant to be a book on science.
You got to prove